Hello my friends and welcome to or Subnautica. Oh, and if you didn't catch all that,
just remember what I said in slow motion.
Now, normally in Subnautica, you are rewarded for slow, methodical play, preparation, and careful observation. But yeah, we're throwing all that out the window today, because today is all about going fast. In Subnautica, there is a console. In this console, you can input console commands, and one of these console commands can let you speed the game up or slow it down. So today's question is very simple. If I speed the game up to 10 times its normal speed, is it still playable? Or does it become a mess that is absolutely impossible to control and I will just instantly die? Well, let's find out. Everything began, as you might expect, in the main menu with a game of survival. Now I skipped the intro and set the speed to 10, and right away, wow, this was tough to control. I jumped out of the life pod and began exploring my surroundings, and the first thing I noticed right away is that it is very, very difficult to do stuff. As you can see me picking up some resources here and struggling to get back into the life pod, I started by just crafting some titanium and making an O2 tank. See, normally in Subnautica, you begin with 45 seconds of oxygen. Now that is a pretty comfortable amount, except when you times the game speed by 10, that becomes a 4.5 seconds of oxygen, which is not exactly enough to really do, well, anything. With my new oxygen tank, I began exploring, and quickly I started becoming stressed with not knowing what to do next. Everything was obviously moving at Mach 10 speed, and I figured that crafting the basic stuff should probably come first. So I made myself a knife. You can also notice at this point that my hunger and thirst are going down fast, and this would become a major problem during this challenge. With my new knife, I jumped back out there and started trying to hunt down some bladderfish whilst almost drowning. This was so difficult. As you can see, I just could not catch a single fish. In desperation, I decided to try remapping some of my controls to the scroll wheel so that I would be able to get more inputs in very quickly after one another. Sadly, after a couple more minutes of trying, I can say this did not help very much. Instead, I decided to go to a kelp forest. If you didn't know, you can eat kelp in Subnautica and it gives you some food and a very small amount of water as well. Not exactly the best source for nutrients, but hey, when you're running at 10 times speed, it's pretty good. Yeah, at several points here I also nearly drowned. Even with the upgraded oxygen tank, you only get 7 seconds of oxygen, which is still not very much, but hey, I did manage to catch one peeper, so that's something. Of course, I figured that some more equipment would be necessary to continue. Even more so, however, I would need a source of water, and for that, I decided to use the old bleach strategy. You'll need one piece of salt, one piece of coral, there goes bleach, and there goes water. As it so happens, however, finding salt when you have 7 seconds of oxygen to go off of is pretty freaking tough, especially at night. As you can see, I was seriously struggling, getting devoured by the local wildlife, which I can usually dodge pretty easily, but not when it's moving at the speed of sound. In desperation, I took the last filtered water I had, and now I knew it was a race for time, literally. To say that I was stressed playing this is a bit of an understatement, so it is very much possible I even missed a bunch of salt deposits, but finally I found one, and at the last second too. I mean, you can visibly see my thirst meter going down very fast. I was able to make some bleach, and with that, some water, which I immediately drank all of. Yeah, a lot of this challenge at the start became just about me trying to survive, not even trying to progress in the game in any way, but just to battle the constantly and unrelentingly decreasing hunger and thirst meters. You would think that at 10 times the speed you would be able to progress faster, but nah, it just felt like I'm able to die way faster. I did stuff myself full of kelp though, and that helped a bit. Now next up, I figured I should make the scanner, because I can't really say that the game is playable unless I'm able to scan some blueprints. Luckily, getting the resources for this was not too difficult, and so there I had a scanner. On top of that, I figured it would be a good idea to make a repair tool as well. The only problem, however, would of course be finding crash fish. Here you can see me yet again stuffing myself full of kelp and nearly drowning multiple times. Oh yeah, the ship also exploded at this point, and I did manage to catch one bladderfish, but it really didn't feel like something I'd be able to maintain, and so I would have to stick with my bleach strategy for water. Now, if my gameplay at all appears stressed, that's because it is. To help with exploration at night, I also decided to make myself a flashlight. Here you can see another challenge of gathering resources. After breaking a deposit, normally it's not difficult to pick up the resource that just fell out, but here they fall down at such speed that unless you're absolutely mashing your buttons, you will just not pick them up and they will fall Lord knows where. Luckily, this was not too difficult, and so I soon had a flashlight. Now, of course, this thing would run out of power in like 30 seconds, but you know, it is what it is. With my new scanner, I also decided to start picking up some blueprints if I found some. At least I can say that scanning them was pretty quick, such as the mobile vehicle bay fragments. I was also able to finally find some more salt for more water, which was very much needed. You might also have noticed that I'm not really crafting fins or anything of that sort. That's because I'm already swimming so freaking fast, and the character feels so hard to control, that if I were to move even faster, I'm not sure I'd be able to handle it. Soon enough, I resumed my quest of looking for crash fish. This was difficult. Those 7 seconds of oxygen are not really enough to thoroughly explore most caves, even if you yourself are also moving at very fast speeds. And so, even though I kind of had an idea of where to look, I was really struggling with not drowning. It's funny, usually crash fish are hard to avoid, but this time, they're incredibly difficult to find. So much so that I knew I needed more oxygen. So I made myself another tank. Sadly, even this was not enough to stop me from drowning, but luckily the game decided to be charitable and I didn't actually lose any equipment. Finally, I was able to find some sulfur, and with all that, and my final nutrient block eaten, I was able to make the repair tool and fix the life pod. Now next up, I set about looking for more blueprints. Here you can see me exploring by a wreck, and of course nearly drowning because 7 seconds of oxygen. So what I really wanted was resources for more oxygen tanks, but as you can see, gathering resources is freaking tough when they roll into grass where you cannot find them. Silver is already hard to find as is, and this was just making it an absolute nightmare. As you can see, I repeatedly went down, had maybe like 2 seconds to look around and find a node before going back up for oxygen and then swimming back down and trying not to miss that small piece of silver falling down. Finally, I had a piece of silver, and with that I could make the high capacity O2 tank, which would finally make this challenge a little bit easier with 13 entire seconds of oxygen. With a bit more oxygen, it was time for some more hunting of blueprints. I found some blueprints for the Sea Glide, but I realized that's not really something I would want anyway. And of course, I kept stuffing myself full of kelp along the way. I also decided to build a radiation suit here, since my plan was to quickly go to the ship and fix it. And I got some more blueprints, such as for the bioreactor. I managed to get some gold here with great difficulties. Small pro tip, if you want to gather a resource at 10 times the speed, you have to kind of push yourself into it so that when it falls, it hits your own hitbox, and that kind of slows it down and gives you time to pick it up. As you can see, I was very excited here by finding even just one piece of silver. Yeah, you'd be surprised how much of this footage is just me stuffing myself full of kelp because I was about to perish. I did finally decide to make myself some fins, not so much because I wanted to move faster, but just to conserve some more oxygen while going down. This did make the game even harder to control. With this equipment, I returned to one of the wrecks in the grassy plateaus. This was an extremely stressful experience that I honestly do not recommend to anybody, but I did get some scans for the sea moth, and then I promptly died. If in case you're curious what that was, I think that was a tiger plant shooting me at the speed of a machine gun. Yeah, I'm gonna have to stay wary of those. I was able to get the blueprint for the laser cutter, which was pretty awesome, though getting diamonds would certainly not be easy. I decided to go to my favorite mushroom forest, where I did get one scan for the Cyclops, to try to get some diamonds, but this was practically impossible. I mean, I did get one, but I had so little oxygen and stuff just kept falling down to the seabed that I knew the only real way I would be getting some resources here would be with a vehicle. Sadly, in defeat, I was forced to swim back to my life pod. With this amazing progress, I decided to go check on the Aurora and see if I could maybe fix it. I mean, to me, that felt like something that might be relatively doable even at 10 times the speed. Boy, was I wrong. Now first, I scoured all around the crash zone because the boxes there can hold some pretty useful resources, and I could save some time that would normally be spent crafting stuff. I did also get the blueprint for the propulsion cannon, though I can't really imagine myself using it. Now once I found all the blueprints my heart could desire, I decided to make my way inside of the ship. Of course the Reaper would be also moving at 10 times the speed, but luckily it decided to be kind this time and did not get in my way, so I managed to get up and onto the ship without any great challenge. I did my best not to fall off here, and with the help of the extinguisher I did manage to successfully make my way in. Now you can see that I'm burning through first aid kits very quickly, and this will become a problem soon. Now I did use the classic strategy of jumping from the top to reach the inside. Just kidding, I died. Yeah, I burned to death. That can happen very easily if you spend 10 times the amount of time in the fire that you want to, but on my second attempt, I actually did it. The problem, however, was that at this point I had no more medkits, and so fixing the ship was absolutely impossible for me, as the bleeders would eat me to death. So I had to retreat. Getting out of the ship was not a massive challenge, and I did get some good resources, but fixing it would not be as easy as I originally thought. Now back home, I decided to invest into a ton of medkits. As you can see, it was all I started crafting. Fortunately, these aren't exactly difficult to come by as long as you're near a kelp forest. With a much better looking inventory, I decided to swim back to the ship to try my hand at fixing it again. I managed to make it in without any real issues, and this time just rapidly sprinted up, managing to avoid a decent amount of the jumping creepy crawlies. I even managed to make the jump in without instantly dying, with an entire 9 health left to spare. Quickly, I swam into the engine room where, of course, I saved the game, and then set about fixing it. Of course, the bleeders are a massive issue, and even finding the right angle from which to repair at this speed can be kinda tricky. But slowly and surely, I was getting through it, but just look at the speed at which these things are draining my health. So yeah, I swam around in great panic, trying to fix this engine, until at last, it was done. With the Aurora fixed, which felt like a massive accomplishment, I decided to look for some more blueprints to truly prove that the game is playable. Of course, I would need at least one vehicle, so it was time for more collecting of stuff. Now at this point, I had the whole survival aspect kinda down. I was not really in the risk of perishing from hunger or thirst, but that certainly did not make gathering stuff any easier. Luckily, it didn't take too long, and I had the mobile vehicle bay, which I very quickly deployed. Some more super speedy crafting later, and there it was, ladies and gentlemen. I was ready to eat some more kelp. Just kidding. But yeah, look at this. We have the sea moth, and yes, it is insanely fast and impossible to control, and I immediately slammed it into everything and went down to like half health. So, you know, that's pretty good. Finally, it was time to get those elusive diamonds. So I drove my sea moth over to the mushroom forest, parked it in a smart position with the light pointing toward my future deposits, and went about gathering them. This still wasn't easy. As you can see, at one point I was truly desperate to get some diamonds, so I went to the mountain island to look for some, only to realize that getting lost in these caves with like 13 seconds of oxygen would just be an absolute death sentence. So I quickly rethought that approach and got out of there. But after devouring another entire kelp forest, finally I was able to get my second diamond. With all that, I was able to return to my life pod, find a crash fish. It exploded somewhere at 10 times the speed, I presume. I got the cave sulfur, and with that, I finally also had the laser cutter. So there you have it. All of the base tools sort of needed for gameplay, a vehicle build, and the Aurora fixed. I think the game is playable. Now, let me tell you something. This has been one of the most stressful challenges I've ever done in this game, and I've completed the death run. I do not recommend you try this. I mean, go ahead if you want to, I guess, but I found it a rather not ideal way to play the game. And I think I would much rather stick to the regular one-time speed. That is, unless you guys want me to turn this into a full challenge and lose my mind trying to complete the game like this. But anyways, I really hope you guys enjoyed. I want to give a massive shout out to all of our members: GK Vader Wolf, Cody the Bumboy, Death Stranding, 34646, Googly Boy, Proximity, Esteva Omelo, Julian, Callum Whaley, Shitsu, E. Michael, Philip Svoboda, MR, Musical Soul, Yuzuv Ismail Tatar, OG Burner, Master Ugwe, Silver Soul, iChronos, and Corianda. Thank you guys so much for the support, it means the world to me. And I want to thank all of you for watching. If you liked the video, maybe consider leaving a like, commenting, or subscribing. And with that, I'll see you legends in whatever next video I make. Bye bye!